Welcome to a night of total terror.
In 1968, George Romero brought us Night of the Living Dead. It became the classic horror film of its time.
We must not be lulled by the concept that these are our family members or our friends. They are not. They will not respond to such emotion.
Now, George Romero brings us the most intensely shocking motion picture experience for all time.
It gets up and kills. The people it kills get up and kill.
When there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
First came the night, then came the dawn. Now comes the most eagerly awaited day in horror film history.
Welcome back to Thursday of the Dead, episode 245. My name is Jace. I'm going to start this episode off showing my first episode. The reason being is that I started off my first episode showing my bootleg VHS copies of Dawn of the Dead. Funny enough, those are the only things that people have contacted me wanting to buy. And these are basically, I guess what you call convention tapes. I picked them up at conventions and sometimes via mail order. This was the only way to see certain cuts of Dawn for a long time. The only way to see Dario Argento's cut or the composite cut, for example. And I still own these because, you know, I love Dawn of the Dead and I collect all this stuff. I even have, as you'll see here in a moment, XT Video put out a composite cut Blu-ray steelbook right here with a cool lenticular cover. So the reason I'm showing you all this is just to demonstrate I like bootlegs. I like fan edits. I like all this stuff, which leads me to my review that's coming up. I collect Prince bootlegs. I love unreleased music. I love hearing all that stuff. I like work prints, seeing the unreleased footage of stuff for like Creepshow. So once I found out about this, I had to buy it. I had to investigate. And from what I've seen online, there's a lot of controversy about this already. I mean, I think he just came out with this. It's called the Monroeville Mall edit. And I thought at first, or Monroeville Mall cut. Let me rephrase that. I thought at first it was the like mall hours edit, which you could see online. It's not. It's got a lot of extra material. The controversial part is that it includes some scenes from Night of the Living Dead and Day of the Dead, which is super ambitious and smart. It reminds me of, there's a fan edit that I've never seen where they actually connect all three of the Evil Dead movies into one continuous cut. I think that's really cool. So obviously, I'm interested in something like this. I'm not a purist by any means. I like all three cuts. My favorite is the theatrical cut, which I think is the best because of the sound design and the use of music that George did. But I collect everything for Dawn, so of course I had to check this out. And so the people that are freaking out, they may have a point, because using night, as you'll see here in a moment, and an AI Ken Foree, that tripped me out. He's coming up here in a moment.
On October 1st, 1967, the United States government first began to receive reports that the dead were returning to life to consume the flesh of the living.
I thought that was actually Ken when I first watched this. I was like, how did he get Ken to do this? I thought he paid him to do it. And then I found out it's AI. And that's very convincing, you know.
At first, people thought that it was the
Some people will hate this.
that people were
It's not for them. I won't say I love it, but it's interesting. I do appreciate the ambition that went into making this, because it doesn't just include the night footage to kind of connect to the story. It includes a little bit of day at the very end. which, of course, I like all three. The original trilogy is my favorite, of course. And so, lots of night footage, and so, of course, that's going to bother some people. But it sets up the story in a different way. Of course, there's a lot of people... Well, I don't think there's anyone that will be watching this that hasn't watched night or day. There's a... coming up, I think the one misstep is there's a line reading, well, an AI line reading leading into From Night to Dawn that I think is a little clunky. It's coming up right here.
Things returned to normal for over 10 years, but now they're back. I can't believe they finally ran out of room in hell.
So it's interesting that he's referencing the 10-year gap, that basically Night took place in 68, Dawn took place in 78. But in reality, I think they mentioned in Dawn that it's been 3 weeks since the zombie apocalypse started. So that doesn't quite mesh for me. But it works, for what this is. So a lot of this is the extended cut, which has massive amounts of footage. And of course, the Argento cut has different footage than the extended cut and different footage than the theatrical cut. So I don't know how long this actually is. It's long, especially considering the night intro and the day outro. But it's interesting. For completists, I recommend it. For a purist, stay away. Thanks for watching. See you next week.